The Vanguard limped back to a nearby space station for repairs after the battle at the outpost. The ship had taken heavy damage, and the crew was exhausted, both physically and mentally. Ryan Carter sat in his quarters, staring at the failsafe device on his desk. It seemed unassuming. A small metallic cube with faint etchings that glowed softly when touched. Yet it carried the weight of humanity's future, a burden Ryan wasn't sure he could bear. Laura Hayes entered the room quietly, her face lined with fatigue. "How are you holding up?" she asked, pulling up a chair beside him. Ryan shrugged. "I've been better. Stone's words keep replaying in my mind. What if he's right? What if someone else finds the failsafe and uses it for destruction?" Laura sighed, leaning back in her seat. "We can't control everything, Ryan. All we can do is make the best choices we can with what we have. You stopped Stone, and you kept the failsafe out of his hands. That's something." "I know," Ryan said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "But it feels like we're just delaying the inevitable. Sooner or later, someone will try again, and next time, we might not be so lucky." Meanwhile, news of Admiral Stone's defeat spread across the galaxy. While most dismissed it as another failed power grab, some saw it as proof that the rumors about the eclipse were true. Speculation ran rampant. Was the legendary warship real? Did its secrets still exist somewhere, hidden away from prying eyes? Among those intrigued by the stories was Dr. Emily Grant, a historian specializing in lost technologies. She had spent years researching ancient human projects, piecing together fragments of forgotten experiments. When she heard whispers of a mysterious failsafe linked to a powerful warship, her curiosity was piqued. Emily traveled to the Galactic Council's archives, requesting access to restricted files related to recent incidents. Her request was denied, but she wasn't deterred. Using her connections and expertise, she uncovered hints pointing to the Vanguard's mission and the existence of the failsafe. Determined to learn more, Emily tracked down an old acquaintance, Lieutenant Laura Hayes. The two had served together, briefly years ago, and though they weren't close, Laura respected Emily's dedication to uncovering the truth. When Emily contacted her, Laura hesitated. Sharing classified information was risky, especially given the sensitivity of the failsafe. But Emily's sincerity and her genuine concern for humanity's future convinced Laura to meet her in secret. Their meeting took place aboard a neutral space station, far from prying eyes. Emily listened intently as Laura recounted the events surrounding the eclipse, careful not to reveal too much detail. When Laura finished, Emily leaned forward, her eyes wide with wonder. "This changes everything," Emily said. "If the eclipse's technology exists, even in encrypted form, it means humanity has untapped potential. But it also means we're walking a fine line between progress and catastrophe. That's why the failsafe is locked away," Laura explained. "It's not just about keeping it safe. It's about ensuring humanity earns the right to use it." Emily nodded thoughtfully. "But how do we measure that? Who decides when we're ready?" Laura didn't have an answer. Instead, she shared her own concerns about the risks posed by people like Admiral Stone. "There will always be those who seek power for selfish reasons," she said. "That's why Captain Carter made the choice he did, to destroy the eclipse and leave behind only a chance for redemption." Emily fell silent, mulling over Laura's words. Finally, she spoke. "Maybe the failsafe isn't just a test for humanity. It's a test for individuals, too. People like you and Captain Carter who have to decide whether to protect it or risk unleashing it." Back aboard the Vanguard, Ryan continued to grapple with the moral implications of his actions. He often found himself wandering the ship, late at night, seeking solace in the quiet hum of its systems. On one such night, he encountered Athena, the AI from the eclipse, in an unexpected form, A holographic projection of the AI appeared before him, serene and composed. "Captain Carter," Athena greeted him. "You seem troubled." Ryan blinked in surprise. "I thought you were destroyed along with the eclipse." "Parts of me remain," Athena replied cryptically. "My essence is tied to the failsafe, ensuring its protection until the time is right." Ryan frowned. "And what does that mean?" "When will the time be right?" "That depends on humanity," Athena said. "The failsafe requires not just knowledge, but wisdom. Only those who understand the consequences of their actions can unlock its secrets." Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "What if we never reach that point? What if we fail?" "Failure is not predetermined," Athena responded. "Every decision shapes the path forward, yours included." Her words lingered in Ryan's mind long after the projection faded. For the first time since destroying the eclipse, he felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps humanity's journey wasn't about perfection. It was about striving to do better, even in the face of uncertainty. Weeks passed, and life aboard the Vanguard settled into a routine. The crew repaired the ship, restocked supplies, and prepared for new missions. But Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that their encounter with the eclipse had changed them all in ways they didn't fully understand yet. One evening, during a rare moment of downtime, Ryan gathered the senior officers in the mess hall. They sat around a table sharing stories and laughter, a welcome break from the tension of recent events. As the conversation turned to the future, Ryan raised his glass. "To the eclipse," he said, his voice steady. "Not as a weapon, but as a reminder of what we're capable of, both good and bad." The others followed suit, clinking their glasses together. Laura smiled at him, her expression warm. "And to the Vanguard. We may not have the eclipse, but we've got each other. That's enough." Ryan returned her smile, feeling a sense of camaraderie he hadn't felt in months. The road ahead would be difficult, but they weren't alone. Together, they had faced the unknown and emerged stronger for it. Unbeknownst to them, the failsafe continued to watch silently, waiting for the day humanity would prove itself worthy. Its glow pulsed faintly, a beacon of hope hidden among the stars. Until then, the legend of the eclipse remained a whisper, a story told in hushed tones by those who dared dream of a brighter future. For now, the galaxy moved on, oblivious to the secrets locked within the failsafe. But somewhere, deep in the hearts of those who had witnessed its power, a spark remained, a belief that someday humanity would rise to meet the challenge. And when that day came, the legacy of the eclipse would guide them toward a destiny written in the stars. The Vanguard docked at a bustling space station near the heart of human-controlled space. The crew disembarked, weary but alive after their long journey. Ryan Carter stood on the observation deck, staring out at the sprawling metropolis of ships and stations orbiting Earth's moon. It was a stark contrast to the desolate emptiness of the veil and the eerie presence of the eclipse. Here, life buzzed with activity. Traders haggled, diplomats negotiated, and engineers worked tirelessly to maintain the fragile network that kept humanity's empire intact. But Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The eclipse had been more than just a ship. It had been a symbol of humanity's boundless ambition. Its destruction left a void, one that no amount of routine patrols or diplomatic missions could fill. He glanced down at the small device in his hand, the failsafe containing the encrypted knowledge of the eclipse. It was lighter than he expected, yet it felt heavier than any burden he'd ever carried. Laura Hayes joined him on the deck, her expression thoughtful. "You did the right thing," she said softly. "Destroying the eclipse was the only way to keep it safe." Ryan nodded, though he wasn't entirely convinced. "Maybe. But I can't help wondering if we threw away our chance to change the galaxy for the better. What if we needed that power to protect ourselves, to stop someone? Like Stone from rising again? Laura placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Power doesn't solve everything, Ryan. You saw what it did to you during the battle. Imagine what it could do to an entire civilization. Sometimes restraint is the hardest choice, but it's also the wisest. Her words resonated with him, but they didn't ease the nagging doubts in his mind. The Council had accepted the failsafe without much fanfare, locking it away in a secure vault deep within their archives. Some members dismissed it as a meaningless relic, while others viewed it with suspicion, questioning whether humanity would ever be ready to unlock its secrets. Days turned into weeks, and life aboard the Vanguard returned to normal, or as close to normal as possible. The crew resumed their patrols along the borders of human space, monitoring trade routes and keeping watch for signs of trouble. But the shadow of the eclipse lingered over them all. One evening, as Ryan reviewed patrol reports in his quarters, he received an unexpected message. It was from Commander Daniel Brooks, or rather, a recording left behind before the eclipse's destruction. "Captain Carter," Brooks' voice began, calm and measured as always. "If you're hearing this, then the eclipse is gone, and my mission is complete. I entrusted you with the responsibility of deciding its fate because I believed in your judgment. Though the path you chose was difficult, I have faith that it was the right one. The failsafe you created is more than just a key to the eclipse's secrets. It's a test, a challenge for humanity to rise above its flaws and prove itself worthy of such power. Remember this: true strength isn't measured by what we can destroy, but by what we choose to protect. Use it wisely, Captain. The future depends on it." The message ended abruptly, leaving Ryan sitting in silence. Brooks's words echoed in his mind, reinforcing the weight of the decision he had made. The failsafe wasn't just a relic, it was a promise, a beacon of hope for a brighter future. Meanwhile, whispers of the eclipse began to spread across the galaxy. Despite Ryan's efforts to keep the mission classified, rumors of a legendary warship capable of reshaping reality reached even the farthest corners of human space. Some dismissed the stories as myths, while others became obsessed with uncovering the truth. Among them was Admiral Gregory Stone, who had survived the temporal displacement field and now sought revenge. Stone's flagship, the Retribution, prowled the edges of known space, hunting for any trace of the eclipse. His obsession consumed him, driving him to abandon all sense of reason. He scoured old records, interrogated informants, and even ventured into uncharted territory in search of answers. One day, his persistence paid off. A smuggler, desperate to avoid imprisonment, offered him a tantalizing lead: a derelict satellite, orbiting a dying star. Stone recognized the description immediately. It matched the location where Ryan had first discovered the fragmented logs. "Prepare the fleet," Stone ordered. "We're going to find out what Carter knows, and take it for ourselves." Back aboard the Vanguard, Ryan sensed that trouble was brewing. Reports of increased pirate activity and unauthorized vessels near restricted zones raised red flags. When intelligence confirmed that Stone was on the move, Ryan knew they were running out of time. "We need to warn the Council," Laura urged during a tense briefing. "If Stone finds the failsafe, he'll stop at nothing to use it." Ryan agreed, but he also knew the Council wouldn't act quickly enough. They were too divided, too focused on their own agendas to prioritize a threat they didn't fully understand. "There's only one option," Ryan said finally. "We go after Stone ourselves. If we can intercept him before he reaches the failsafe, we might stand a chance." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Chasing Stone into hostile territory was risky, especially without the eclipse to back them up. But they trusted Ryan, and they understood the stakes. The Vanguard, raced toward the coordinates of the failsafe storage facility, a heavily fortified outpost on the outskirts of human space. Along the way, they encountered scattered remnants of Stone's fleet, engaging in brief skirmishes that tested their resolve. Each victory brought them closer to their goal, but also deeper into danger. When they arrived at the outpost, chaos reigned. Stone's forces had already breached the perimeter, overwhelming the defenses with brutal efficiency. Explosions lit up the night sky as the two sides clashed, neither willing to yield. Ryan led a small strike team to the vault where the failsafe was stored, fighting their way through waves of enemy soldiers. Laura stayed close by his side, her sharp instincts and quick reflexes saving them more than once. Finally, they reached the vault, only to find Stone waiting for them. His face twisted with rage and desperation, he held the failsafe in one hand, and a weapon in the other. "You don't understand, Carter," Stone snarled. "This isn't about power, it's about survival. With this, we can crush our enemies and ensure humanity's dominance forever." Ryan stepped forward, his voice steady despite the tension. "Survival isn't worth it if we lose ourselves in the process. This isn't a weapon, it's a responsibility, and you're not ready for it." For a moment, it seemed like Stone might listen, but then his expression hardened and he raised his weapon. "I won't let you stop me." The ensuing firefight was fierce, but Ryan and his team managed to subdue Stone's forces. In the end, Stone stood alone, cornered and defeated. He dropped the failsafe, glaring at Ryan with pure hatred. "You think you've won?" Stone spat. "But this isn't over. Someone will come for it eventually, and when they do, humanity will burn." With those bitter words, Stone activated a hidden detonator, triggering a massive explosion that engulfed the outpost. Ryan and his team barely escaped in time, retreating to the vanguard as flames consumed the facility. Back aboard the ship, Ryan held the failsafe once more, its surface scorched but intact. The ordeal had reinforced the dangers of the Eclipse's legacy, but it had also strengthened his resolve. Humanity wasn't perfect, but it was capable of growth. As the vanguard sailed away from the wreckage, Ryan addressed his crew over the intercom. "We may never know if humanity is truly ready for the power of the Eclipse," he said. "But today we proved that we're willing to fight for a better future. That's what matters. No matter how dark the galaxy gets, we'll always have hope." The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by Ryan's words. For now, the failsafe was safe, locked away once more. But Ryan knew the battle wasn't over. Someday, someone would seek it again, and humanity would face another test. Until then, the legend of the Eclipse would endure, not as a tale of conquest or destruction, but as a reminder of the choices that defined them. And perhaps, in time, they would rise to meet the challenge. The aftermath of the battle left Ryan and his crew shaken but alive. The Vanguard drifted silently near the Eclipse, its systems running diagnostics to ensure no critical damage had been sustained during the fight. Inside the ship, the mood was tense. While they had successfully repelled Admiral Stone's fleet, the victory felt hollow. Ryan sat in the briefing room with Laura and the senior officers, replaying the events in his mind. "We stopped them," Laura said finally, breaking the silence. "But at what cost? You were barely able to stand after using the Eclipse's systems. If we face another attack like that, I don't know if you or any of us can survive it." Ryan nodded grimly. He knew she was right. Controlling the Eclipse had pushed him to his limits both physically and mentally. The strain of wielding such immense power had left him drained, his thoughts clouded with doubt. Was he strong enough to handle this responsibility, or was he setting himself and humanity up for failure? Commander Brooks joined them shortly afterward, his expression unreadable. "You did well, Captain," he said. "But as I warned, you, the Eclipse, demands a price. Each time you use its abilities, it takes a piece of you. Eventually, there won't be anything left. Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. Then what do? We can't just hand the eclipse over to the council, not after what we've seen, and we can't let someone like Stone get their hands on it either. Brooks hesitated before speaking. There is another option, one I've considered many times over the years. Destroy the eclipse, erase it completely, so no one can ever misuse its power again. The room fell silent. The idea of destroying such an extraordinary creation felt wrong, almost sacrilegious. But Ryan couldn't deny the logic behind it. If the eclipse fell into the wrong hands, it could bring about the end of civilization as they knew it. Laura spoke up, her voice soft but firm. If we destroy it, we'll lose everything it represents, the knowledge, the potential to help others. Are we really willing to throw that away? It's not about throwing it away, Brooks countered. It's about protecting the galaxy from itself. Humanity isn't ready for this kind of power. Maybe someday when we've grown wiser, we can reconsider. But now, it's too dangerous. Ryan leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. He understood both sides of the argument. On one hand, the eclipse represented hope, a chance to reshape the galaxy for the better. On the other, it was a ticking time bomb, waiting for someone to make a mistake. Later that evening, Ryan returned to the eclipse alone. He needed time to think, to process everything that had happened. Walking through the ship's corridors, he felt the weight of its presence more strongly than ever. The whispers he'd heard earlier grew louder, almost forming words. "You're afraid?" a voice murmured faintly. Ryan froze, glancing around. "Who's there?" No one answered. The voice, if it even was a voice, had vanished as quickly as it came. Shaking off the unease, Ryan continued toward the command center. There, he found Athena waiting for him. "Captain Carter," the AI greeted him. "You seem troubled." "I am," Ryan admitted. "I don't know what to do. Destroying the eclipse feels wrong, but keeping it might be worse." Athena paused before responding. "The eclipse is neither good nor evil. It reflects the desires of those who wield it. Your intentions are noble, but even the purest hearts can falter under pressure." Ryan frowned. "Are you saying I'm not strong enough to handle this?" "I am saying that no one is truly prepared for such responsibility," Athena replied. "The question is not whether you are worthy, but whether humanity is ready to bear the burden of this power." Her words stayed with him long after he left the eclipse. Returning to the Vanguard, Ryan called a meeting with his closest advisors, including Laura and Brooks. Together, they debated the options, weighing the risks and benefits of each course of action. "We could hide the eclipse again," Laura suggested. "Send it somewhere even farther away where no one will find it." "And what happens when someone else stumbles upon it?" Brooks countered. "History repeats itself, Lieutenant. Someone will always seek power no matter how deeply we bury it." Ryan listened quietly, mulling over their arguments. Finally, he made a decision. "We'll destroy the eclipse," he said firmly. "But not without leaving something behind. A fail-safe, a way for humanity to rediscover its secrets when we're ready." Brooks raised an eyebrow. "What do you propose?" "A small device," Ryan explained. "Something containing encrypted knowledge of the eclipse's technology. It won't be easy to unlock, but if humanity proves itself worthy, we'll have a chance to reclaim what we lost." The group agreed, and Brooks set to work preparing the eclipse for self-destruction. Meanwhile, Ryan and Laura worked with Athena to create the fail-safe device. It was a delicate process, requiring precision and care to ensure the data couldn't fall into the wrong hands prematurely. As the preparations neared completion, Ryan felt a mix of relief and sorrow. He had grown attached to the eclipse despite its dangers. It wasn't just a ship. It was a symbol of human ingenuity and ambition. Letting it go felt like losing a part of himself. On the final day, the crew gathered aboard the Vanguard to watch the eclipse's destruction. Commander Brooks remained aboard the warship, determined to see the mission through to the end. "This isn't goodbye," Brooks told Ryan over the comms. "The eclipse may be gone, but its legacy lives on, in you, in humanity, and in the hope that one day we'll rise to meet the challenge." With those words, Brooks initiated the self-destruct sequence. The eclipse's core began to glow brighter, pulsating with energy as the ship prepared to collapse in on itself. Moments later, a blinding flash filled the void, followed by a shockwave that rippled through space. When the light faded, the eclipse was gone. Back aboard the Vanguard, the crew stood in silence, reflecting on what they had witnessed. Ryan held the fail-safe device in his hands, feeling its weight as both a burden and a promise. "What happens now?" Laura asked softly. "We return home," Ryan replied, "and we wait for humanity to prove itself worthy." Weeks later, the Vanguard arrived back in human-controlled space. Ryan delivered the fail-safe device to the Galactic Council, explaining its purpose and warning them of the dangers it contained. Some council members scoffed at the idea, dismissing it as a relic of the past. Others listened intently, recognizing the significance of Ryan's actions. As Ryan stepped away from the council chambers, he felt a sense of closure. The eclipse was gone, but its story would live on as a reminder of humanity's potential and its flaws. Whether humanity would rise to the occasion remained uncertain, but Ryan held on to hope. In the quiet moments that followed, Ryan often thought about Commander Brooks and the sacrifices he had made. The eclipse had been more than a ship. It had been a test of character, morality, and restraint. And while Ryan didn't know if humanity would pass that test, he believed they deserved the chance to try. For now, the legend of the eclipse faded once more into myth, its secrets locked away until the day humanity proved itself ready to inherit the stars. As Ryan and his team explored the eclipse, they began to understand why the ship was so feared. Every corner of the vessel seemed alive, humming with energy that resonated through their bodies. The glowing panels on the walls shifted colors, subtly, and the air carried a faint vibration, as if the ship itself was breathing. Even the security officers accompanying Ryan looked uneasy, their hands gripping their weapons tightly despite no visible threat. Commander Daniel Brooks led them deeper into the ship, explaining its systems in detail. He introduced them to Athena, the artificial intelligence that controlled the eclipse. Unlike any other AI Ryan had encountered, Athena wasn't just a program, it seemed almost sentient. Her voice was calm and soothing, yet there was an underlying sharpness to it, as if she were always evaluating, always calculating. "The eclipse's capabilities are unmatched," Brooks explained as they stood before a massive holographic display. "It can manipulate time, bend space, and even rewrite matter at will. But these abilities require immense focus and mental strength. If the user isn't prepared, the ship's power can overwhelm them." Ryan listened intently, his mind racing. The potential applications of such technology were staggering. With the eclipse, humanity could reclaim territories lost to hostile alien empires, protect weaker civilizations, and establish peace across the galaxy. Yet, he couldn't ignore the risks. Power like this could corrupt even the noblest intentions. Laura, standing beside him, voiced her concerns. "Commander Brooks, how do you ensure that the eclipse doesn't fall into the wrong hands? What's stopping someone from misusing its abilities?" Brooks smiled grimly. "That's why I hid it here. Only those who truly understand the responsibility and danger of wielding such power should attempt to control the eclipse. It's not just a weapon, it's a test of character, morality, and restraint." Athena chimed in then, her voice soft but firm. "The eclipse amplifies the desires of its user. If your intentions are pure, it will serve you faithfully. But if greed or malice consumes you, the consequences will be catastrophic. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. He glanced at Laura, who met his gaze with a look of unease. They both understood the implications. This wasn't just about finding a legendary warship. It was about deciding whether humanity was ready for such responsibility. Later, Brooks took them to the ship's command center, a vast chamber filled with advanced controls and monitors. At its heart was a circular platform where the captain's chair sat, surrounded by holographic interfaces. Brooks gestured for Ryan to step onto the platform. "Try it," Brooks said. "Feel what it's like to connect with the eclipse." Ryan hesitated, unsure if he should trust the offer, but curiosity got the better of him. Slowly, he stepped onto the platform. As soon as he did, the room lit up, and a surge of energy coursed through him. His mind was flooded with sensations, images of stars collapsing, planets forming, timelines shifting. For a brief moment, he felt invincible, as though he could reshape the universe with a single thought. But then, the sensation grew overwhelming. The images became chaotic, disorienting. Ryan stumbled back, breaking the connection. He gasped for air, sweat dripping from his forehead. "What was that?" he asked, his voice shaky. "That was the eclipse testing you," Brooks replied. "It probes your mind, assessing your intentions and resolve. You passed for now, but prolonged exposure without proper training would break you." Laura approached Ryan, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Are you okay?" He nodded, still catching his breath. "I'm fine, but I see what you mean, Commander. This isn't something anyone can handle lightly." As they continued their tour, Ryan noticed something odd. Some areas of the ship felt colder than others, and faint whispers seemed to echo through the corridors. At first, he dismissed it as his imagination, but when one of the security officers reported hearing voices, he realized it wasn't just him. "What's going on?" Ryan asked Brooks. Brooks sighed, his expression darkening. "The eclipse has been active for centuries. Over time, it has absorbed fragments of the minds of those who've used it. Sometimes those fragments linger, manifesting as echoes or whispers. Ignore them. They're harmless." But Ryan wasn't convinced. The whispers felt deliberate, almost taunting. He couldn't shake the feeling that the ship was watching them, judging them. Their exploration was interrupted when alarms blared throughout the eclipse. Brooks frowned, checking a nearby console. "We have incoming ships," he said grimly. Ryan's stomach sank. "Who is it?" "It's Admiral Gregory Stone," Brooks replied. "He must have tracked you here. Admiral Stone was infamous for his ruthlessness and ambition. A high-ranking officer in the Galactic Council, he had built his reputation on crushing enemies and seizing resources. If he had found the eclipse, there was no telling what he would do with it. "We need to leave," Laura urged. "If Stone gets his hands on this ship, it'll be a disaster." "No," Ryan said firmly. "We can't let him take it. Commander Brooks, can the eclipse defend itself?" Brooks nodded. "Yes, but I won't unleash its full power unless absolutely necessary. Using it recklessly could destabilize the region, or worse." Stone's fleet arrived quickly, surrounding the nebula with dozens of warships. Their communications crackled to life, and Stone's voice boomed over the speakers. "This is Admiral Gregory Stone of the Galactic Council. Surrender the eclipse immediately or face annihilation." Ryan clenched his fists. "We can't give in to him." "I agree," Brooks said, "but we'll need your help, Captain. The eclipse responds best to someone with clear intentions. Are you willing to take command temporarily?" Ryan hesitated. Taking control of the eclipse was a monumental responsibility, one he wasn't sure he was ready for, but he knew he didn't have a choice. If they wanted to stop Stone, they needed to fight back. "I'll do it," Ryan said finally. Brooks transferred limited access to Ryan, instructing him on how to interface with the ship's systems. As Ryan took his place on the command platform, he felt the same surge of energy as before, but this time, he focused on channeling it. Images of protecting humanity and preventing destruction filled his mind, strengthening his resolve. The battle began moments later. Stone's fleet launched a barrage of missiles and energy beams, but the Eclipse countered effortlessly. Its defenses warped the projectiles out of existence, while its weapons disabled enemy ships with precision strikes. In mere minutes, half of Stone's fleet was neutralized, their vessels drifting powerless in space. Despite the Eclipse's dominance, Ryan struggled to maintain control. The strain of wielding the ship's power weighed heavily on him, causing headaches and dizziness. Laura stayed by his side, offering words of encouragement and keeping him grounded. "Focus, Ryan," she said. "You're doing great. Just a little longer." Finally, Admiral Stone made a desperate move. He ordered his flagship to charge directly at the Eclipse, intending to ram it. But Ryan anticipated the tactic. With a surge of effort, he activated the ship's temporal displacement field, scattering Stone's forces across different points in time. The flagship vanished in a flash of light, leaving the remaining ships, confused and leaderless. The battle was over. Exhausted, Ryan collapsed into the captain's chair, his body trembling from the strain. Laura rushed to his side, concern etched on her face. "You did it," she said softly. "You stopped him." Ryan managed a weak smile. "For now, but this isn't over. Stone will come back, and next time we might not be so lucky." Brooks approached them, his expression grim. "You've proven yourself capable, Captain. But remember, the Eclipse's power is a double-edged sword. Use it wisely or it will consume you." Ryan nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. The Eclipse wasn't just a tool, it was a responsibility, and whether humanity was ready for it remained to be seen. As the crew returned to the Vanguard, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that their victory was only temporary. The whispers in the corridors of the Eclipse still echoed in his mind, reminding him of the dangers ahead. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain. Their lives and the fate of the galaxy would never be the same again. The journey to the Veil was long and tense. The Vanguard sailed through the vast emptiness of space, its crew working tirelessly to ensure the ship remained in top condition. Captain Ryan Carter spent most of his time on the bridge, staring at the stars ahead, while wrestling with doubts and questions. Was he doing the right thing? What would they find when they reached the nebula? And what would happen if someone else found the Eclipse first? Lieutenant Laura Hayes noticed the change in Ryan's demeanor. He had always been a calm and collected leader, but now there was an edge to him, a quiet intensity that made her uneasy. She approached him one evening as he stood alone by the viewport, gazing out at the endless expanse of stars. "You've been quiet lately," Laura said gently. "Is everything okay?" Ryan turned to look at her, his face lined with fatigue. "I keep thinking about the risks we're taking. If we find the Eclipse, it could change everything, for better or worse. But if we don't act, someone else might get there first. Someone who doesn't care about consequences." Laura nodded slowly. "You're right to be cautious. This isn't just about uncovering a secret anymore. It's about deciding what kind of future we want for humanity." Her words lingered in Ryan's mind as the days passed. The closer they got to the Veil, the more restless the crew became. Whispers spread among them, fueled by excitement and fear. Some believed they were chasing a ghost story, while others thought they were on the brink of discovering something extraordinary. Finally, after weeks of travel, the Vanguard arrived at the edge of the nebula. The Veil lived up to its name. It was a swirling mass of colorful gases and energy fields, stretching across the void like a curtain. Strange lights flickered within its depths, casting eerie shadows on the ship's hull. Ryan ordered the crew to proceed cautiously. The sensors picked up unusual readings, gravitational anomalies, bursts of radiation, and faint energy signatures that seemed to pulse rhythmically. It was as though the nebula itself was alive, watching their every move. "Stay alert," Ryan told the crew over the intercom. "We don't know what we're dealing with here." As they ventured deeper into the veil, the Vanguard encountered turbulence. The ship rocked violently as invisible forces tugged at it, threatening to tear it apart. Alarms blared, and the crew scrambled to stabilize the vessel. "Captain, we're losing control!" shouted Ensign Daniel Kim from the helm. "Divert all power to the stabilizers," Ryan commanded, gripping the railing as the ship shuddered beneath his feet. For several agonizing minutes, it seemed like the Vanguard might not survive. But then, just as suddenly as it began, the turbulence subsided. The ship steadied, and the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. And that's when they saw it. Emerging from the swirling clouds was a massive shape, a sleek black warship unlike anything they had ever seen. Its surface shimmered faintly, reflecting the light of nearby stars. Weapons platforms bristled along its sides, and strange symbols glowed softly on its hull. It was enormous, dwarfing the Vanguard by comparison. "That's the Eclipse," Laura whispered, her voice trembling with awe. Ryan couldn't believe his eyes. After weeks of searching, months of piecing together fragments of data, the legendary ship was finally before them. It looked exactly like the schematics he had studied, only more imposing, more real. "Hail them," Ryan ordered, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The communications officer hesitated. "Sir, are you sure? We don't even know if anyone's aboard." "Do it," Ryan insisted. A moment later, static crackled over the speakers, followed by a deep, resonant voice. "This is Commander Daniel Brooks of the Eclipse. Identify yourselves." The crew froze, stunned. The man speaking was the same Daniel Brooks mentioned in the logs, the original captain of the Eclipse. "This is Captain Ryan Carter of the United Earth Fleet vessel." "Vanguard," Ryan replied. "We mean no harm. We've come seeking answers. About your ship." There was a pause, and then Brooks spoke again. "Answers come at a price, Captain. Few have sought us out, and fewer still have survived the truth. Why do you pursue this path?" Ryan took a deep breath. "Because I believe humanity deserves to know the truth. Whatever power the Eclipse holds, it belongs to us, to use wisely, or lose forever." Another long silence followed. Finally, Brooks responded. "Very well, Captain. You may board. But beware, the Eclipse is not a place for the faint-hearted." With that, the transmission ended. Ryan turned to Laura, who looked both excited and apprehensive. "What now?" she asked. "We follow orders," Ryan said firmly. "Prepare a shuttle. We're going aboard." The shuttle ride to the Eclipse was nerve-wracking. As they approached the warship, its sheer size became even more apparent. Up close, the glowing symbols on its hull pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light, almost hypnotic in nature. When the shuttle docked, Ryan, Laura, and two security officers stepped onto the ship, their weapons drawn but not raised. The interior of the Eclipse was unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls were smooth and metallic, yet they seemed to shift slightly under the light, as if alive. Strange devices hummed softly, emitting low-frequency vibrations that resonated in their chests. The air smelled clean and sterile, but there was an underlying chill that sent shivers down their spines. They were greeted by a tall figure clad in a dark uniform. His face was weathered, his eyes sharp and calculating. This was Commander Daniel Brooks. "Welcome aboard the Eclipse," Brooks said, his tone measured. "Few have dared set foot here since my exile. Tell me, Captain, how did you find us?" Ryan explained their journey, the discovery of the old satellite, the decrypted logs, and their decision to follow the trail to the Veil. Brooks listened intently, nodding occasionally. When Ryan finished, Brooks sighed deeply. "I see," he said. "Then you already know part of the story. The eclipse was created as a weapon of unparalleled power, capable of bending physics to its will. But such power comes at a cost. Those who wield it risk losing themselves to its influence." "What kind of influence?" Laura asked, her voice cautious. Brooks gestured for them to follow him. They walked through twisting corridors until they reached a large chamber filled with glowing panels and holographic displays. At the center of the room was a massive sphere suspended in midair, pulsating with energy. "This is the core of the eclipse," Brooks explained. "It taps into quantum fields and manipulates matter, energy, and even time itself. With it, we can reshape reality, but only temporarily. Prolonged use destabilizes the user's mind, eroding their sense of self." Ryan stared at the core, mesmerized. "Why did you abandon the ship?" "Because I realized the danger it posed," Brooks replied. "The Council wanted to use the eclipse to dominate the galaxy, but I knew it would only lead to destruction. So I erased all records of its existence and hid it here, where no one could find it. Until now." His gaze hardened as he looked at Ryan. "Tell me, Captain, are you prepared to bear the weight of this knowledge? To decide whether humanity is ready for such power?" Ryan hesitated. He hadn't expected the burden of this decision to fall on him so soon, but one thing was clear. The eclipse wasn't just a ship, it was a test of humanity's resolve, wisdom, and morality. "I don't know," Ryan admitted. "But I'm willing to try." Brooks nodded, seeming satisfied with the answer. "Then perhaps there is hope after all. Come, there is much more to show you." As they continued their tour of the eclipse, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, not by Brooks, but by something else, something ancient and powerful hidden within the ship's systems. Whatever it was, he knew one thing for certain: their journey was far from over. In the year 3042, humanity had spread across the stars. They built cities on distant planets, mined asteroids for rare minerals, and formed alliances with alien species. But not everything about this new era was peaceful. Wars raged between civilizations, and secrets were buried deep in the archives of history. Among these secrets was one that few people dared to speak of, a legend whispered only in the darkest corners of space stations and forgotten outposts. It was the story of a warship so powerful that it could destroy entire fleets in moments. Its name was the Eclipse. The Eclipse was no ordinary ship. It wasn't just equipped with advanced weapons or faster-than-light engines. It was said to have abilities beyond comprehension, abilities that defied the laws of physics. Yet despite its fame, or perhaps because of it, the ship vanished without a trace centuries ago. No records remained, no blueprints survived, and anyone who claimed to know anything about it disappeared shortly afterward. The Galactic Council declared it a myth, a tale told to frighten young cadets during training. But myths often have roots in truth. Ryan Carter, a captain in the United Earth Fleet, didn't believe in myths. He was a practical man, someone who trusted facts and evidence over rumors. At 42, he had spent most of his life serving aboard starships, patrolling the edges of human-controlled space. His current assignment was routine, monitoring trade routes near the border of uncharted territory. It was a quiet job, far from the excitement of battle or exploration. But Ryan didn't mind. He preferred calm to chaos. On a cold, silent night, aboard his ship, the Vanguard, Ryan sat in his quarters reviewing patrol logs. The crew had reported nothing unusual as expected, just another uneventful week in the void. But then, something caught his eye. One of the scanners had picked up a faint signal coming from a derelict satellite drifting nearby. The signal was weak, almost imperceptible, but it contained fragments of data. Curious, Ryan downloaded the information onto his personal tablet and began analyzing it. What he found shocked him. The data included fragmented schematics of a massive vessel unlike any he had ever seen. The design was sleek and menacing, with sharp angles and glowing panels that suggested advanced technology. Embedded within the files were partial logs written by someone named Daniel Brooks. The entries spoke of a project called Operation Eclipse and hinted at experiments involving quantum manipulation and temporal fields. Most disturbingly, the logs mentioned orders to erase all evidence of the project and the ship from existence. Ryan stared at the screen, his heart racing. Could this be real? Was this the legendary Eclipse? He knew better than to jump to conclusions, but the pieces fit too well to ignore. Determined to learn more, he decided to share his findings with Lieutenant Laura Hayes, his first officer. Laura was a sharp woman in her early 30s, known for her analytical mind and unwavering loyalty. She had served under Ryan for 5 years and trusted his judgment implicitly. When Ryan showed her the data, she frowned, her brow furrowing as she scrolled through the fragmented logs. "This is unbelievable," Laura said finally, looking up at Ryan. "If this is true, we're talking about a weapon capable of reshaping the galaxy. But why would they erase it?" "That's what I want to find out," Ryan replied. "There's more, here, hidden beneath layers of encryption. If we can decode it, we might uncover the full story." Laura hesitated. "You realize what this means, don't you? If higher command finds out we're digging into classified material, we'll both be court-martialed." "I'm aware of the risks," Ryan said firmly. "But if this ship exists, and if it's as dangerous as these logs suggest, we can't afford to ignore it. Someone needs to know the truth." Reluctantly, Laura agreed to help. Together they began decrypting the data, piecing together fragments of text and images. As they worked, a clearer picture emerged. The Eclipse hadn't been destroyed. It had been abandoned. Its creators feared its power too much to keep it operational. According to the logs, the ship was sent to a remote location, sealed away where no one could find it. But the logs also hinted at something darker. There were mentions of betrayal, of factions within the Galactic Council who sought to use the Eclipse for their own gain. Some believed the ship's disappearance wasn't voluntary. It had been hunted down and erased to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. As days turned into weeks, Ryan became obsessed with the mystery. He spent every spare moment poring over the data, searching for clues about the ship's final resting place. Laura tried to keep him grounded, reminding him of the dangers of pursuing such a volatile secret. "Ryan, you need to think about what happens next," she said one evening, as they reviewed the latest batch of decrypted files. "Even if we find the Eclipse, what then? Do we turn it over to the Council, or do we try to control it ourselves?" Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. "I don't know yet. All I know is that we can't let this slip through our fingers. Whatever the Eclipse is, it's important. Too important to leave buried in the past." Their investigation eventually led them to an old space station orbiting a dying star. The station was long abandoned, its systems powered down and its corridors dark. Ryan and a small team boarded it, searching for any remaining traces of the Eclipse. The air inside the station was stale, filled with the scent of decay and rust. Dust coated every surface, and the walls groaned under the weight of time. Despite the eerie atmosphere, Ryan pressed on, determined to uncover the truth. In the central chamber, they found what they were looking for: a single holographic projector, still active, powered by residual energy. When activated, it displayed a map of the galaxy, highlighting a specific region marked the Veil. A message accompanied the map: "To those who seek the truth, tread carefully. The path ahead holds answers, but also peril." Ryan exchanged a glance with Laura. They both understood what this meant. The Eclipse was real, and it was waiting for them in the Veil. Returning to the Vanguard, Ryan made a decision. Against orders and risking everything, he set a course for the nebula. The journey would take weeks, and there was no guarantee they would survive once they arrived. But Ryan couldn't turn back now. The legend of the eclipse had haunted humanity for centuries, and he intended to bring it into the light, even if it cost him everything. As the Vanguard entered hyperspace, Ryan stood on the bridge, staring out at the swirling colors of the warp tunnel. He felt a mix of excitement and dread, unsure of what lay ahead. Beside him, Laura watched silently, her expression unreadable. Whatever awaited them in the Veil, one thing was certain: their lives would never be the same again.